You didn't beat Slay the Spire. You have to kill the heart.
Great video.
You die after beating
Second,
the chosen.
it wasn't even on
a
you
didn't even fight the heart early
access.
This
This
is
is
hard
very
to fight
much
the heart.
for
Not
running
being
the heart.
on an
Now do an
A20
heart.
heart. Yeah, okay, I can do that. Or I can spend like 5 hours writing a mod that makes every single enemy in the game the heart. Oh, okay, well, how about a mod that gives every single enemy in the game the heart's health and sprite? Wait, the heart has 750 health? I'm supposed to fight a cultist with 750 health? Jesus, what did I get myself into? Well, a couple weeks worth of attempts and a few mental breakdowns later, I got probably the most insane run I've ever had. I started out by grabbing Meow's Lament because, I don't know about you, but sitting through 40 plus turns of Louse combat just doesn't seem like a super fun and enjoyable time. My first encounter was against, well, like 2 hearts. A couple of strikes secured the victory and the first copy of Pressure Point, my favorite card in the entirety of the Watcher's arsenal. It is common knowledge at this point that I think the Watcher is hot garbage. Sure, whatever. She's the best character in the game, and her multitude of absolutely busted strategies makes her a beast in higher ascensions. So what? Can she summon lightning orbs? I didn't think so. One very annoying thing that she can do, however, is build Mark, the hands-down best permanent scaling in all of Slay the Spire. And before you start dropping actualies in the comment section, yes, theoretically, if I had a deck of 60 catalysts, Poison would outscale Mark, but all my challenge videos are on a random seed, and I have yet to find a random seed where every combat reward is exactly what I need, so Mark it is. After grabbing pressure points, I transformed a strike into Inner Peace, a great card to get my deck rotating a bit faster, and then I burned my second trigger of Meow's Lament on a cultist. I mean, heart. Ugh. The first shop of the run let me remove a strike and also let me pick up Protect. With only 1 pressure point, combats would be going into double-digit turn counts, so having some good blocking cards is basically a must. Scrape Ooze took me down to 54 and gave me Centennial Puzzle as the first actual relic of the run. My first elite heart of the run cleared the remaining charge of Meow's Lament and dropped Preserved Insect, which is an even better relic than normal. Because every single monster has 750 health, removing 25% of their health equates to a full 187 damage that I won't have to deal. Take a look at this nifty little chart I made to calculate how many times I have to play Mark. Oh, and can you spot the 6 differences between the 2 background images? As per the chart, with a full 750 health, I would need to play 14 unupgraded pressure points to kill any given enemy. That number comes down to 12 for upgraded pressure points, or if I'm fighting an elite thanks to Preserved Insect. And it drops even further down to only 10 upgraded pressure points against a nerfed elite. This being said, with only 3 energies and a single pressure point, combats would be lasting upwards of 20 or 30 turns, which would be very, very bad if I run into basically any of the 10 plus monsters that happen to scale. With the bottleneck of the strategy identified as energy, seeing Diva form as my card reward was nothing short of a miracle. Assuming I could play it without getting dumpstered, after a few turns I'd be able to pretty much play my entire hand. With Diva form in the mix, my attention turned to maximizing the number of cards I would be able to draw every turn. Shining Light upgraded a useless strike and a not as useless defend. I then took a quick nap at the campsite before picking up the Sapphire Key, as Vajra does literally nothing to boost my mark. Jeez, okay, time to start the actual challenge. My first set of real enemies were a pair of slimes role-playing as a couple of hearts. I was more than happy to see that these hearts had no form of scaling, meaning that as long as I could block their attacks, my mark would eventually take them both out. A lucky turn 1 Diva form eased my worries, and a mere 33 turns? Good God! This run is going to be like 2 hours long or something. Jesus. Okay, well, 33 turns later, with 34 extra energy to spare, I came out of my first true challenge only 2 HP weaker. A weak potion and a second pressure point were the fruits of my labor, and after a quick upgrade to pressure point number 1, I found myself back in the shop. With 140 gold, I was tempted to remove another strike, but ended up grabbing Foresight, which gives me... Scry. Now, there are many reasons why I dislike the Watcher. Her unique relics aren't very good. Her starting relic is straight trash. All 3 of her unique potions suck. But above all else, the real reason why I never enjoy playing her is scry. How am I supposed to know what cards I want to discard? You really think I've got enough foresight to plan out my deck rotation? This is coming from the guy that has picked up Frozen Eye exactly 0 times. No way, man. I'm grabbing Brimstone and I'm rage quitting when the Book of Stabbing vaporizes me. This run, however, is a journey of self-discovery, and on this trip, scry, unfortunately, is an asset I simply cannot ignore. Confused, shaken, and questioning my sanity, I left the shop and headed into yet another arduous battle with the blue slave heart. Blue slart? No, not that. Whatever. Another lucky encounter with a non-scaling monster, but this time it only took me 17 turns to vanquish the beast. With 2 pressure points in my deck and a few draw cards, the combats were getting a little bit easier. Speaking of draw cards, a second inner piece found its way into my deck, giving me even more utility when in calm. The final floor before the boss was Big Fish, where I almost picked up a relic for regret. Unfortunately, knowing the combats would be lasting at very least 10 turns, regret would be a liability that I just couldn't bring myself to accept. Instead, I increased my max health by 5 and then smithed inner piece. Why did I not upgrade my second pressure point, you ask? Well, that's simple. It's because I'm not actually good at this game. I just have an ungodly amount of time to throw at these challenges, which means that statistically, I'll eventually stumble my way to victory. Before I could stumble my way into anything, however, I needed to face the first boss of the run. Oh, what? What? Why is he still there? Oh, okay, no, I definitely replaced the sprite. Okay, guys, I don't know what happened. Just pretend he's not there, okay? Alright, well, in terms of difficulty, the Act 1 bosses are honestly way easier than a lot of the Act 1 common monsters. This because none of them have any form of scaling. Assuming I can block their big fancy moves, there's no real downside to the battles going into overtime. That being said, the slime boss sucks. He sucks so much. Not only does he split, effectively doubling his health, thanks by the way to all the Harvard graduates in the comment section of the last video pointing out my inability to do some simple addition, his split also completely removes all mark that I had built up, meaning that I'd have to start all over on each of the large slimes. Then, when they split, the mark is reset again, which sucks. Oh, and don't even get me started on the stupid slime cards he puts in my already small deck. Oh, what a freaking loser. Ever since I made fun of him in that stupid starting card challenge, he's taken it upon himself to clobber me every single chance he gets. A loser. Gosh, okay. Sorry, okay, well, luckily I do not have to look at his ugly mug because the Hexaghost or Hexaheart. Guys, these jokes aren't gonna get any better. I'm just letting you know now. The Hexaheart has no defense against the immense amount of mark I'd be able to build. He does, however, add burns into my deck, which was annoying to say the least. An unfortunate turn 2 Diva form meant I'd be eating 28 damage, but with my energy building, that'd be the last time the boss would lay a finger on me. Oh no, okay, nope, he's doing 24. Okay, well, I don't know why I didn't use the weak potion before, but a few turns after lobbing it at the heart, my pressure points were too much, securing me passage into Act 2 with 117 damage worth of mark. A very nice fairy in a bottle was my potion reward, and Vault was my card reward of choice, effectively giving me a free proc of Diva form. I had a pretty tough time deciding which boss relic to take, as all 3 were actually great options. Sozu gave me some much needed energy to play Diva form, but after a few turns it wouldn't be doing too much. Empty Cage was also a great choice, as I had exactly 2 remaining strikes in my deck. A smaller deck meant better turnaround on my pressure points, but I eventually opted to take Astrolabe, as it allowed me to sorta kinda remove the 2 strikes with the chance of getting some more useful draw cards. I was not disappointed in the slightest, as after transforming the 2 strikes and 1 defend, I added an upgraded Scrawl, Evaluate, and Tantrum to my deck. Tantrum was but both Scrawl and Evaluate would be fantastic additions, allowing me to play significantly more cards on the turns where I draw Scrawl or an Insight. Act 2, baby, let's go. The Chosen Heart was my first combat, which I was totally fine with. I was really worried I'd run into the 3 birds who are basically an instant reset. Not only do they scale, there are 3 of them, meaning I'd need to chew through 2,250 HP, which is just not something I can do while also blocking their brutal attacks. The Chosen is much better, but still poses a pretty tough challenge thanks to the hex it applies on turn 2. A quick reminder of what my deck looks like at this point will give you a good understanding of how a debuff that shuffles a Dazed into my deck anytime I play a non-attacking card would be no bueno. Luckily, I had picked up an artifact potion in Act 1 which negated hex, making the combat reasonably trivial. From the bout, I picked up a 3rd pressure point and then headed into the shop. From the merchant, I grabbed Fasting, a card that has amazing synergy with Diva Form. My increasing energy more or less negated the downside of Fasting, and with my super defensive deck, Dexterity would make me even tankier. After Fasting, I removed Eruption as I basically wanted to stay in calm for the duration of the combat with 2 Inner Peace cards in my deck. Before I left, I considered taking a second Protection, but held off with the hopes of getting lower energy block cards. With high dexterity, low-cost defensive cards would become super useful, as 2 defends would give me an additional 6 block rather than just the 3 from something like Protection. With full health entering the library, I took the obvious choice of adding a card to my deck. The card in question was a 2nd Fasting, boosting my defensive potential even further. Having spent pretty much all of my money on the previous shop, I was more than happy to cough up 68 gold to the bandits rather than challenging the guy that gives me -2 dexterity. My final event space before another harrowing battle was the Council of Ghosts, which I respectfully turned down. 5 intangibility wouldn't really do much with such long combats. An upgrade to my 2nd Inner Peace was my last decision before bumping into the Snake Plant Heart thing. This guy doesn't really scale, but to be honest, he doesn't need to. 21 damage every other turn out the gate is pretty rough, but pair that with Infinite Frail and I might find myself in a sticky situation. Luckily, a turn 1 Vault turned into a turn 1 Diva Form, and with 6 Dexterity thanks to both of my Fastings, I walked away with only minor wounds. Dude, another pressure point? This is insane. I'm up to 4. I think the Spire might be taking pity on me or something. Regardless, I'm not complaining. One thing I will complain about, however, is Cursed Tome. With almost full health and the chance to get something like Enchiridion, I started reading. Suffice it to say, I was a little bit disappointed after spending 16 health to get the Necronomicon. Awesome. A curse and a useless relic. Thanks, man. I guess I wasted all my luck on card rewards. Whatever. My Act 2 chest gave me Letter Opener, which I guess is fine. I was playing a lot of skills, but 5 damage isn't too much against monsters with 750 health. 10 gold wasn't quite enough to pick up a 3rd Inner Peace at the shop, and in my fight with the non-scaling Snickgart, that one's kind of funny, I don't know. Confusion wasn't too much of an issue with so much energy thanks to Diva Form. What the? Another Fasting? That makes 3, which equates to plus 10 dexterity. Wow. Okay, well, with the boss quickly approaching, I upgraded Diva Form, removing its ethereal modifier, and then encountered the first scaling monster of the run, the Fungi Heart. After drinking my recently acquired fruit juice, I stalled a few turns until Diva Form popped up and proceeded to take 16 damage before finally exterminating the fungus. This guy only scales by 3 strength 40% of the time, so suffice it to say this combat was nothing short of a wake-up call. The other random heart soon fell as well, and after removing the final attack, Tantrum, from my deck, then resting at the campfire, it was boss time. Unlike Act 1, all 3 of the Act 2 bosses scale. That being said, they scale at different rates, so I was super happy to see the Bronze Automaton. The champ was scary despite being the slowest scaler. With Anger removing all debuffs, I'd have to build Mark all the way back up once I got him to half health. The Collector was rough for a different reason, as he had a 30% chance of buffing not just himself, but his minions. He would also re-summon the Torch Heads, which meant that unless I spend some mark killing them, I'd have to block 16 damage every turn. The Automaton really only poses a threat when he uses Hyper Beam. He summons some guys, but doesn't resummon them, and with my 10 dexterity and insane energy scaling, by the time he was ready for his crazy wacky wild move, I was more than prepared with 53 block. Not long after defeating his minions, the head honcho fell with 116 mark, taking me into Act 3 for only the second time over weeks of attempts. My card rewards were meh, and because my deck already felt pretty much complete, I ended up skipping them. My Act 2 relic options weren't quite as good as Act 1, as I'd be playing way more than 6 cards, and I didn't really have a way to exit Calm. I ended up taking Tiny House, and oh boy am I glad I did. Not only did it upgrade a pressure point, it gave me a 5th one. 5 pressure points! Dude, this is nuts. With a quarter of my deck being pressure points, I charged into Act 3 ready to get obliterated by any of the 7 encounters with a scaling monster. And oh boy, I was not let down. The Orb Walker, with a 100% chance of getting 3 strength every turn, greeted me in my first room of the act. A lucky turn 1 Diva form saved me from too much damage, but I didn't walk out unscathed. Oh yeah, 4 HP, and you're doing 31, and I have 3 burns? No, actually that's awesome. That's exactly what I wanted. No thanks. On 67 HP, I headed into the Winding Halls. Should I have taken Madness? I mean, probably. Did I? No, of course not. I lost 4 max HP because I was scared and didn't want the run to die. Mind Bloom was next, and with it came a very hard decision. I would have loved to upgrade my deck, but knowing that it would be hard to avoid chip damage in super long fights, I was worried about not being able to heal. Instead, I took the 1 in 3 chance to end the run by fighting the slime boss and went for the rare relic. Lady Luck was on my side, as the Guardian was the Act 1 boss of choice. This guy was a pushover and didn't even hit me once. Loser. The Pocket Watch was the rare relic, and its extra draw was a welcome addition to the kit. Okay, I don't know why I picked up Protection. It's just like bad because I have so much dexterity. Whatever. The 3 shapes were waiting for me in the next room, and man, what a goofy looking fight this is. How would you even explain this to someone that doesn't play Slay the Spire? Like, this doesn't even make any sense. Well, the Exploder turned from one of my most hated monsters into one of my favorites after blowing himself up, saving me the trouble of spending time on his massive health pool. The Spiker wasn't much trouble as well, as Mark doesn't proc thorns, meaning the fight was a nice respite from the terror that had been this run. Okay, like, look at this turn. This is insane. This guy is at 613 HP, and I just demolish him because I have 12 energy. Like, what is he supposed to do? This game is crazy. Up next was the shop, where I picked up another fasting. 4 fastings? At this point, you guys are gonna have to start calling me Gandhi. Nice. I had that one in the chamber for a minute. Go ahead and let me know in the comments how sick that joke was. Oh yeah, and then also another inner piece. I don't know what this run was cooking, but it was nuts. My final purchase of the run was Potion Belt, with the hopes of picking up a few before the boss. I healed to full at the rest site and challenged the second elite of the run, a Burning Nemesis. You didn't really think I'd forget about picking up the key pieces on a run where I'm fighting the heart a million times, did you? No, I'm not that bad. This guy was probably the best elite for the challenge, as his invincibility turns didn't stop me from building Mark. Sure, he can block the 40 mark, but he won't be able to block it next turn. Unfortunately, I drew Diva form on turn 2 when he was going to be dealing 45. Could I have just put up some block and skipped Diva form? Probably, but I didn't, so shut up. Okay, I mean, I didn't mean that. No, please don't unsubscribe. I love you. I mean, 45 damage. Despite my best efforts, the elite still took me down to 34 before I was able to play the final pressure point. Happy Flower was my relic reward, which is not good, but I can only complain so much on a run like this. For my card, I chose Nirvana, which would give me a guaranteed 4 block every turn with Forethought. I forgave the sin of Happy Flower, as a surprise chest gave me Ink Bottle, yet another draw-based relic that worked fantastically with Diva form. Frozen Egg was my Act 3 chest reward. Good thing I'm going to be adding so many power cards to my deck, right? I add more power cards to my deck, right? Right? The rest site healed me back up to 58, and my 33 gold was not enough to buy anything from the final shop of the run. It was, however, enough to trade for the Red Mask at the Tomb of the Lord Red Mask, which is a crazy event space name. Yet another rest site healed me to 82 before the final room before the boss. Writhing Mass didn't do too much besides give me Parasite that I literally could not have avoided because I just don't have any attacking cards. Pretty cool. One final campfire let me grab the Ruby Key, and then it was Donu and Deca time. I didn't really have a preference on the Act 3 boss because they would all be devastating in their own ways. The Awakened one had 2 cultists that both start with 750 HP and scale. One of them on their own would be run ending, but 2 and a boss? Yikes. The Time Eater would kill my high card usage, capping Diva Form's utility. On top of that, if I got him down to half health, he'd remove all his debuffs, which includes Mark. Yikes. Donu and Deca sucked because they scale way faster than the other 2 bosses. Having to break through 2 artifacts, block at least 20 damage every turn, and take out Donu before he scales to the moon would be a feat that only my deck would be capable of. I drank my regen potion and sat on my hands until Diva Form popped up on turn 2. Blessing of the Forge upgraded my huge hand, which was a massive help in blocking the 26 damage Donu would be tossing out. With Diva Form active, I played 1 fasting, 2 fasting, 3 fasting, 4. I was up to 13 dexterity, but Donu had put in work. The bosses were dealing 38 damage a turn with no sign of slowing down. With 16 HP and a dream, I started tossing out pressure points. My energy kept going up and up and up until finally I took out the Rotund Beast. He had gifted Deca 15 strength, but even that wasn't enough to stop. Each defend was blocking 18, and with 10 energy, I'd certainly be able to negate the measly 50 damage the remaining shape would be dishing out. 11 mark, 22 mark, 33 mark, 44 mark. I was unstoppable. Deca could do nothing. I was the heart. I was the real boss all along. And that was it. 126 mark. I had done it. Wait, what? What are you typing? No, stop that. What? The actual heart? What do you mean? I just beat it. Didn't you see? Look, this looks like a heart to me. Act 4? Guys, I literally have no idea what you're talking about. This is the whole game. You get the keys and fight the heart, and I did that. There's nothing else. The video is over. There's nothing else to do. See, here, look, black screen. Oh, shoot. No. Put the video recommendations in. No, put them in front. Oh, God, no.